The rain fell hard on the streets of Chicago that cold November evening. Marcus Thompson sat in the back seat of his black Mercedes, watching the city lights blur past the window. He was tired after another long day of meetings and phone calls. As one of the richest men in America, Marcus owned hotels and restaurants across the country. But tonight, something felt different. Tonight, he felt empty inside. "Stop the car, James," Marcus said suddenly to his driver. Through the rain-streaked window, he saw something that made his heart skip a beat. Under a broken streetlight near an old apartment building, a small girl was sitting on the wet ground. She was holding two even smaller children close to her body, trying to keep them warm. "Sir, are you sure?" James asked, looking worried. This was not a safe part of town. But Marcus was already opening the car door. He stepped into the cold rain and walked toward the children. As he got closer, he could hear a woman's angry voice coming from the apartment above. "Get out! Get out right now," the voice screamed. "I'm sick of feeding you worthless kids." A window opened on the second floor, and a thin woman with messy hair stuck her head out. She was holding a bottle of alcohol in her hand. "Ruby, take those crying babies and get away from my building. I don't want to see your faces anymore." The little girl on the ground looked up. She was maybe 7 years old, with big brown eyes full of tears. Her clothes were old and torn. In her arms, she held a baby who was crying from the cold. Next to her sat another child, about 3 years old, shivering and scared. "Please, Aunt Grace," the little girl called Ruby said in a shaky voice. "Tommy is sick. He needs to be warm. And little Sarah is hungry. Please let us come inside. I promise we'll be quiet." The woman laughed in a mean way. "Quiet? You kids are never quiet. Your mama died and left you with nothing. I've had enough. I'm not your mama, and I'm not going to waste my money on you anymore." She threw down a plastic bag full of old clothes and broken toys. The bag hit the ground and split open. Everything scattered in the puddles of dirty water. Marcus felt his hands shake with anger. He remembered being a child himself, alone and scared after his own parents died in a car crash. He remembered the cold nights in foster homes where nobody wanted him. But he also remembered the one person who saved him, an old teacher named Mr. Peterson, who saw something special in an angry, broken boy and gave him hope. "Hey!" Marcus called out, stepping closer to the children. "Are you okay?" Ruby looked up at him with frightened eyes. She pulled her little brother and baby sister closer to her body. "Please don't hurt us, sir. We're just trying to find somewhere to sleep tonight." Marcus felt his heart break. He knelt down in the puddle next to the children, not caring about his expensive suit getting wet. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. "My name is Marcus." "What's your name?" "I'm Ruby," the girl whispered. "This is Tommy and this is baby Sarah. Our mama died 2 months ago, and Aunt Grace said she would take care of us. But she drinks a lot and gets angry. She says we eat too much food and make too much noise." From a window above, Aunt Grace was still yelling. "Who's that man down there? Ruby, you get away from him. He's probably trying to kidnap you." Marcus looked up at the woman. "Ma'am, these children are cold and hungry. It's raining, and they're just babies. You can't leave them outside like this." Grace laughed again, taking a long drink from her bottle. "I can do whatever I want. They're not my kids. Their mama should have thought about what would happen to them before she got sick and died. I never asked for this." She slammed the window shut, leaving the children alone in the rain. Marcus looked at the 3 small faces staring up at him. Baby Sarah was crying softly, and Tommy was coughing. Ruby was trying so hard to be brave, but he could see the fear in her eyes. "Listen to me," Marcus said gently. "I have a big house with warm beds and lots of food. Would you like to come with me tonight? Just until we can figure out what to do." Ruby shook her head quickly. "We can't. Every time someone says they want to help, they change their minds. They say we're too much trouble and send us away. I can't let Tommy and Sarah get hurt again." Marcus understood. These children had been disappointed too many times. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a business card with his picture on it. "See this? I'm not just some stranger. I run a big company, and I have many people who work for me. I promise you, I will not hurt you or leave you behind. Ruby looked at the card with wide eyes. Even though she was only 7, she could read well. "It says you're the boss of Thompson Hotels," she said quietly. "That's right," Marcus nodded. "I have hotels all over the country. But do you know what I don't have? I don't have a family. I've been alone for a long time, and maybe tonight we can help each other." Slowly, carefully, Ruby stood up, still holding baby Sarah. She helped Tommy to his feet, and together they walked toward Marcus's car. James, the driver, was waiting with towels and blankets. "Mr. Thompson," James said quietly, "are you sure about this? You don't know anything about these children." Marcus looked at the 3 small faces peering out from under the blankets. "I know they need help, James, and I know what it feels like to have nowhere to go." As they drove toward Marcus's mansion in the rich part of Chicago, Ruby sat very still and quiet. She kept looking out the window as if she expected someone to stop the car and take them back to the streets. "Are you really going to let us stay?" she asked in a small voice. "For as long as you need," Marcus said. "But first, let's get you some hot food and clean clothes. Then we can talk about what happens next." When they reached Marcus's house, Ruby gasped. She had never seen anything so big and beautiful. The house had tall windows with warm light glowing inside. There was a big garden with trees and flowers. Even though it was winter, inside, the house was warm and smelled like cinnamon and fresh bread. Marcus's housekeeper, Mrs. Chun, was a kind old woman who took one look at the children and immediately started running warm baths and heating up soup. "Oh, you poor babies," she said, wrapping towels around Tommy and Sarah. "Let's get you cleaned up and fed." While Mrs. Chun took care of the younger children, Marcus sat with Ruby in the kitchen. She was still wearing her wet, torn clothes, but she wouldn't let go of a small, dirty stuffed animal, a pink rabbit with one ear missing. "That's a nice rabbit," Marcus said. "Does it have a name?" "Rosie," Ruby said quietly. "My mama gave it to me before she got too sick to talk. She said Rosie would always watch over me." Marcus felt tears in his eyes. "Your mama sounds like she loved you very much." Ruby nodded, hugging Rosie tighter. "She used to read me stories and sing songs. She said I was smart and brave, and that I could be anything I wanted when I grew up, but then she got sick, and the doctors couldn't make her better." "What did you want to be?" Marcus asked. For the first time, Ruby smiled a little. "A teacher, like the one at my old school, Mrs. Garcia. She always said nice things to me and helped me with my reading. But then we had to move in with Aunt Grace, and I couldn't go to that school anymore." Marcus made a promise to himself right then. These children would go to school. They would have chances to follow their dreams. They would never feel unwanted again. Over the next few days, Marcus learned more about Ruby, Tommy, and Sarah. Ruby was incredibly smart and had been taking care of her little brother and baby sister all by herself. She knew how to change diapers, make bottles for the baby, and even read simple books to Tommy. Tommy was shy, but curious about everything. He loved looking at the books in Marcus's library and playing with toy cars. Baby Sarah was starting to smile and laugh when she felt safe and warm. But there was a problem. Aunt Grace had legal custody of the children. Even though she had thrown them out on the street, the law said they belonged with her. Marcus hired the best lawyers in Chicago to fight for the children, but it would take time. One morning, Marcus woke up to find Ruby sitting by the big window in the living room, staring out at the garden. She was holding Rosie and had tears on her cheeks. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Marcus asked, sitting down next to her. "You're going to send us back to Aunt Grace, aren't you?" Ruby said in a voice so sad it broke Marcus's heart. "We've been here a whole week, and we probably cost you lots of money for food and clothes. Everyone always sends us back when they get tired of us." Marcus knelt down so he could look right into Ruby's eyes. "Ruby, I want you to listen to me very carefully. I am never, ever going to send you away. You and Tommy and Sarah are staying here with me forever, if that's what you want. But what if the judge says we have to go back to Aunt Grace?" "Then I'll fight that judge," Marcus said firmly. "And if that doesn't work, I'll fight the next judge and the next one after that. I have enough money to fight for as long as it takes." Ruby threw her arms around Marcus's neck and cried. "I want to stay with you. You make me feel safe." Marcus held her tight and made another promise to himself. He would do whatever it took to protect these children. The court battle was long and difficult. Aunt Grace's lawyer argued that Marcus was just a rich man trying to buy children like they were toys. Marcus's lawyer showed evidence of how Grace had neglected and abandoned the children. The most important moment came when the judge asked to speak to Ruby alone. She was nervous and scared, but she told the judge the truth about living with Aunt Grace and how Marcus had saved them from the cold rain. "He reads us stories every night," Ruby told the judge, "and he helps Tommy with puzzles, and he walks around the house with Sarah when she can't sleep. He doesn't yell at us or drink bottles that make him mean. He says I can go to school and be a teacher someday if I want." The judge listened carefully to everything Ruby said. Then he asked, "Ruby, if you could choose, where would you want to live?" Without hesitation, Ruby said, "With Marcus. He's not just taking care of us because he has to. He wants us to be his family." 3 weeks later, the judge made his decision. Marcus was granted full custody of all 3 children. Aunt Grace was required to get help for her drinking problem and could only visit the children if Marcus agreed. On the day the judge signed the papers, Marcus, Ruby, Tommy, and Sarah all went out for ice cream to celebrate. Ruby got chocolate chip, Tommy got strawberry, and Marcus held baby Sarah while she tried to grab his vanilla cone with her tiny hands. "Marcus," Ruby said, chocolate ice cream on her face, "can I call you Dad now?" Marcus's eyes filled with happy tears. "I would love that more than anything in the world." 6 months later, Ruby started 2nd grade at one of the best schools in Chicago. She made friends quickly, and her teacher said she was reading at a 4th grade level. Tommy went to preschool and loved playing with blocks and finger painting. Baby Sarah took her first steps in the big house and said her first word, "Dada," while reaching for Marcus. Marcus had never been happier in his life. His house was full of noise and laughter and toys scattered everywhere. Instead of working late every night, he came home early to help with homework and read bedtime stories. One evening, as he was tucking Ruby into bed, she said, "Dad, remember that night when you found us in the rain?" "Of course I do," Marcus said. "I was so scared that night. I didn't know what was going to happen to us. But then you came, and you didn't just walk away like other people did. You stopped and helped us." Marcus smoothed her hair and smiled. "Do you know why I stopped?" Ruby shook her head. "Because a long time ago, when I was a little boy like Tommy, someone stopped and helped me too. A teacher named Mr. Peterson saw that I needed help, and he didn't walk away either. He taught me that when you see someone who needs help, especially children, you don't ignore them. You do what you can to make their life better." Ruby hugged Rosie tight and looked up at Marcus. "When I grow up and become a teacher, I'm going to help kids who need someone to care about them, just like you helped us." "I know you will," Marcus said, kissing her forehead. "And I'll be so proud of you." As Marcus turned off the light and closed Ruby's door, he walked down the hallway past Tommy's room, where the little boy was sleeping peacefully with his toy cars lined up on a nightstand. Then he stopped at Sarah's room, where the baby was curled up in her crib, breathing softly. Marcus stood there for a moment, thinking about how much his life had changed. A year ago, he had been a lonely millionaire with a big empty house and no one to share his success with. Now he had 3 beautiful children who call him Dad and filled every day with love and laughter. He thought about that rainy night when he saw Ruby sitting on the cold ground, holding her little brother and sister, trying to protect them with nothing but her 7-year-old courage. He was so grateful that he had told James to stop the car. He was so grateful that he had gotten out and walked over to those frightened children instead of driving away. The next morning, Marcus got a phone call that surprised him. It was Aunt Grace. "Marcus," she said quietly, "I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" Marcus was confused. "For taking care of the kids. And for making me get help with my drinking. I've been sober for 3 months now, and I'm starting to see how badly I treated Ruby and Tommy and Sarah. I was angry about my sister dying and leaving me with children I didn't know how to love. But that wasn't their fault." Marcus listened carefully. "I know I can never make up for what I did," Grace continued. "But I want you to know that I'm glad they're with you. You gave them something I couldn't, a real father who loves them." "Grace," Marcus said gently. If you keep getting better and want to be part of their lives as their aunt, we can talk about visits. Children need to know their family history. Grace started crying. Do you think Ruby would ever forgive me? Ruby has a very big heart, Marcus said. But it will take time, and you'll have to prove that you've really changed. A year later, Aunt Grace did visit for Ruby's 8th birthday party. She had been sober for over a year and had a job at a grocery store. She brought Ruby a new book and apologized for how she had treated the children. Ruby, now confident and happy, listened to her aunt's apology and then said, I forgive you, Aunt Grace, but Dad is my real family now. Grace smiled through her tears and nodded. I know, sweetheart, and I'm glad. Marcus watched this conversation and felt proud of how wise and strong Ruby had become. She had learned to forgive, but also to protect herself and her siblings. As the years passed, the Thompson family grew stronger. Ruby excelled in school and decided she definitely wanted to be a teacher. Tommy discovered he loved science and wanted to be a doctor to help sick people like his mama had been. Sarah grew into a happy, curious little girl who loved music and dancing. Marcus never forgot the lesson he learned that rainy night in Chicago. He started a foundation to help homeless children and families. He built shelters with warm beds and good food, and he made sure every child got to go to school. Ruby often went with him to visit the shelters. Even as a young girl, she had a gift for talking to frightened children and helping them feel safe. She would tell them her own story about the night a kind man stopped his car and changed her life forever. The most important thing, Ruby would tell the children, is to never give up hope. Even when everything seems dark and scary, there are good people in the world who will help you if you let them. And Marcus would smile, knowing that Ruby had learned the same lesson that Mr. Peterson had taught him so many years ago, that one person's kindness can change everything, and that love is the strongest force in the world. Years later, when Ruby graduated from college with a teaching degree, Marcus sat in the audience with tears of pride in his eyes. She had grown into a beautiful, smart, compassionate young woman. During her graduation speech, she said, I want to thank my dad, Marcus Thompson, for showing me that families aren't just made by blood, they're made by love, commitment, and the choice to never give up on each other. Tommy and Sarah cheered loudly from their seats, and Marcus knew that the scared little children he had found on that rainy street corner had grown into amazing people who would make the world better, just like someone had made his world better when he was young and alone. The story that began with, Millionaire saw a little girl constantly scolded and cruelly insulted. He instantly ran in and had become a story about the power of love to heal broken hearts and create new families. Marcus had learned that the greatest treasure he could ever have wasn't money or success. It was the love of his children and the chance to give them the childhood he had never had. And every night, when he tucked Ruby, Tommy, and Sarah into their beds in a house that was no longer empty, Marcus whispered a quiet, "Thank you," to Mr. Peterson and all the people who choose to stop and help when they see someone in need. Because sometimes one moment of kindness can change not just one life, but many lives forever.